The night they came, the world felt unnaturally still. I was halfway through reading Goodnight Moon to my daughter when the front door shattered inward. The sound was sharp, almost surgical, like a bone snapping in water. 3 men stormed in, dressed in black from head to toe, gloved hands gripping silenced pistols. One of them spotted my little girl sitting on her bed, clutching her stuffed bear. "Daddy, who are they?" she whispered. The tallest of the men froze, his expression faltering. He pulled out his phone, glanced at it, and muttered a curse. Wrong address. But the leader's voice came steady and cold. "Doesn't matter. No witnesses." That was their mistake. I told my daughter to close her eyes. What came next wasn't emotion. It was muscle memory. Pure, conditioned instinct. The kind I'd learned in places where hesitation meant death. By the time she looked up again, the room was silent. 3 men lay still on the floor, and the only sound left was her soft sobbing. I held her close. "It's over," I whispered, but I knew it wasn't. The police arrived 2 hours later. I'd already cleaned most of the scene. Old habits. The detective asked the usual questions. Forced entry, self-defense, ID. Then he asked, "Do you have any enemies, Mr. Kane?" I almost laughed. Enemies had once been part of my job description, but his question stayed with me. These men weren't random. The way they moved, the precision, the coordination, they were professionals. That night, as my daughter slept against my chest, I replayed it all. The mistake wasn't their address. It was their confidence. They believed they were protected by someone powerful. The guns they carried had custom engraving. I recognized a maker, someone I used to work with, and that connection led me to a name I hadn't spoken in years, Mark. My wife's brother. He'd once worked for the same private military contractor I did before both of us walked away, though only one of us stayed clean. The next day, I drove to his warehouse on the edge of town. It looked deserted, but a small security camera above the door blinked twice. An old signal. Someone was home. I didn't approach. I watched from across the street as a black SUV pulled up. 4 men climbed out, one wearing the same insignia as the hitmen. They handed Mark an envelope thick with cash. He didn't look surprised, just uneasy. He knew I was supposed to be dead. Later that night, I combed through my phone and security records. Someone had accessed our home address through a secure company database, using my wife's login. She was in the kitchen when I confronted her. She hummed softly, like nothing had changed. I asked, "When did you last talk to your brother?" She paused too long before answering. "A few months ago." That hesitation was all I needed. 2 days later, I had proof. Mark had been laundering money through defense contracts, using my old credentials. Years ago, I discovered it and covered it up for her sake. Now he'd sold my identity to one of my former blacklisted clients, a cartel front cleaning up loose ends. They hadn't meant to kill my daughter. They'd meant to kill me. But the address in their files hadn't been updated until recently by my wife. When I set the login records on the table, she went pale. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. Tears fell, followed by excuses. I said nothing. I just listened. Eventually, the silence broke her. "Mark said it would look like an accident," she confessed. "You'd be gone, and they'd leave me and Emma alone. I never thought they'd hurt her." That was when I stopped listening. I called Mark and told him to meet me at his warehouse. Midnight. He was waiting when I arrived. Older, worn down, still carrying that same smug confidence. "You weren't supposed to make it out," he said. "And you weren't supposed to order the hit," I replied. He reached for his gun, but I was faster. I didn't kill him, not this time. I did something worse. I uploaded every piece of evidence, documents, bank records, recordings, to Federal Drop while he watched. Minutes later, his phone buzzed. Sirens echoed in the distance. His expression collapsed. "You have no idea what you've done," he muttered. "Oh, I do," I said quietly. "I buried you without firing a shot." The agents came for him first. Then they came for her, accessory to conspiracy, obstruction. It was over without another word from me. Now it's just me and Emma. New name, new home, different bedtime stories. Sometimes she asks about her mother. I tell her softly, "She made a choice, sweetheart." When she falls asleep, I sit by the window and listen to the silence. The same silence that used to follow me through every mission. But now it feels different, cleaner. That night, I told my daughter to close her eyes so she wouldn't see monsters. Now she doesn't have to, because I already killed the last one, and she once shared my last name.